Hi, this is Joe from Way Scarff Ford. Today we're going to talk about this awesome 2020 Ford Explorer ST. Let's dive in. This thing is a true hot rod explorer with more aggressive looks and, more importantly, more aggressive performance. You get a more aggressive wheel and tire package, larger brakes for excellent stopping power. This actually stops really well for a mid-size three-row crossover. And road handling is also equally as amazing. For power, we have a 400 horsepower turbocharged V6, allowing this to rocket the 0 to 60 in a little over 5 seconds. Very impressive. We have a little bit more aggressive front fascia. Law enforcement loves to drive the Explorers. We can find a lot of police cruisers and interceptors as Explorers. So maybe when people see that big black grille getting bigger in their rearview mirror, they might move out of your way. If you like the torpedo down the left-hand lane and you want people to move out of your way, well, they see this grille, they might think you're law enforcement. The ST Explorer comes at an opportune time for the Explorer. For the 2020 model year, Ford switched platforms on the Explorer. It's actually evolved a lot since it was first introduced in the US market in the early 90s, pretty much putting SUVs on the map. SUVs are pretty crude. They're merely just like pickup trucks with a canopy and a bench seat in the back. The Ford Explorer was like the first real refined SUV, and it really made them popular. Before the Explorer was originally based on truck-based architecture, body and frame, similar to its brother in the Ford Ranger that it shares a lot of its components with. But we saw the Explorer evolve over the years, and it more recently switched to unibody architecture. So even though it looks like a truck-based SUV, it's actually built like a car using unibody, not body on frame. So that makes it lighter. It improves the handling, it improves the fuel efficiency, overall performance. But they also switched to a front-wheel drive platform when they switched to that unibody design. So front-wheel drive makes a lot of sense in ways. It improves packaging. You can have a horizontally opposed engine, so you can basically put the engine sideways next to the transmission, which is great for packaging. It frees up more interior space. You don't have a giant drive shaft going through the middle of the vehicle, which is all fine and dandy, but from a performance aspect, it makes it heavier. The previous generation carried about 54 to 55% of its weight over the front wheels. That's not great for handling and sporty performance. With the 2020 Explorer and the ST Explorer, they switched back to a rear-wheel drive platform. It still retains its car-based unibody architecture, so it's lightweight, great handling, more fuel efficient than a truck-based SUV. But now the engine is longitudinally mounted, so it's a little bit further back. And instead of the transmission being up here next to the engine, it's behind the engine. Then we have a drive shaft going through to the rear wheels. So even though the previous generation was front wheel drive and you could get it with all-wheel drive, the primary wheels doing the majority of the work were the front wheels. Where with this Explorer, you can get them in rear wheel drive, but this one's all-wheel drive. The wheels that do the most work are the rear wheels as far as putting power down. When you have a front-wheel drive vehicle, you're asking a lot for it. You're asking it to carry the majority of the weight of the vehicle. You're asking it to do like 70% of the braking, to turn the vehicle. spread the workload a little bit. That's the beauty of a balanced rear-wheel drive. That's why a lot of performance cars, a lot of race cars are rear-wheel drive, not front-wheel drive, because generally it's better for performance. And that's exactly what you get with the ST Explorer. You get sports car-like handling and performance, yet it's a big, mid-size, three-row crossover with excellent handling and performance. And another thing with front-wheel drive vehicles, don't get me wrong, there are some fantastic performance-based performance vehicles with front-wheel drive, specifically like the Honda Civic Type R. But it's a $50,000 Civic where they did a lot of engineering to basically, engineer the vehicle to be an excellent performer with front-wheel drive. But the thing is, with front-wheel drive vehicles, if you put too much power to the ground, you get torque steer where all this power is going to the front wheels, so it's almost like trying to rip the steering wheel out of your hands. The steering wheel is wobbling and stuff like that. Not very fun. You did get that with the older front-wheel drive based Explorers, but with the ST Explorer and the rear-wheel drive ones that you got for the 2020 model year, no more torque steer. We also get a quad tip exhaust for a little bit more aggressive look and sound. This one has a tow hitch on it. So you have these buttons right here so you can power fold down the third row seats. You can use these buttons to individually fold them down, or you can use it left and right to fold them down simultaneously. And of course, the second row seats also fold down as well, turning it into like a cargo van for those big Costco or IKEA trips. And then you can hit the buttons again to have them return. Also have a little bit of additional storage under here. Mid-size third row crossovers like this Explorer are very popular for growing families because of how much space they have. When you have a couple kids and their friends and you need to carry cargo for weekend getaways and luggage and stuff like that, a compact crossover like the Escape or the Bronco Sport is just too small. I'm 6'2", I fit very comfortably back here. I can recline the rear seats. You got a nice armrest that folds down. The second row seats are also heated. You got rear climate control. If it gets too bright out, I have these nice integrated sunshades, climate control vents for a little fresh AC. Very nice, very comfortable. Keyless ignition with push button start. I won't bore you too much going through the entire build sheet, but you have a lot of standard equipment on the ST Explorer. This has a premium technology package and the ST Street package. The ST Street package gives you performance brakes and larger 20-inch alloy wheels. Nice upscale interior, leather seats with this nice contrast stitching. We have a rotary dial to operate the transmission. This has a 10-speed automatic transmission. You also have a steering wheel paddle shifter so you can take control of the gear changes yourself. We have heated and ventilated front seats. Nice navigation screen. We have this vertical screen a la Tesla. I think Tesla Model S and Y screens were a little inspiration for this. Rear parking camera as well as an overhead camera. We have a drive mode selector. We have a hill descent control. We also have active park assist, which will help you park the vehicle parallel and perpendicular. That's nice and helpful, especially if you have a hard time with it. Beautiful thick rimmed steering wheel with the contrast stitching. We have adaptive cruise control, steering assist, completely digital gauge cluster. Then we have a drive mode selector. You can twist this rotary dial around for different drive modes. It'll make changes to the transmission, traction, stability control settings. We have deep snow and sand. Obviously, this is not a rock crawler or a hardcore off-roader like the Bronco, but it is capable of doing some light off-roading, some beat-up service, for surface roads, gravel, dirt roads, things like that. Maybe slightly more technical, but obviously with street tires and all that stuff, this thing isn't designed to go places that Wranglers and Broncos are going to go. There's a trail mode, and we also will notice that the gauge cluster design will change depending on which drive mode you have selected. We also see that like in the trail mode, it shuts off the traction control, which is a little bit preferable, which is a little more preferable in off-road situations. We have a slippery, we have normal, we have eco, we have sport mode, and we have tow haul. Well, newer pre-owned, the Ford Explorer ST is always a great choice for anyone looking for a mid-size crossover with great performance. Obviously, maybe your passionate side might desire a cool car like a Mustang with beautiful looks, sports car handling, gets the blood boiling on a curvy road. But for practicality, you have a growing family, you need third row seating, you need cargo space, you need all-wheel drive traction. Well, a more practical vehicle like the Explorer is obviously going to be a more logical choice. But the ST kind of gives you a little bit of both. You get a fantastic sizable crossover with third row seating in the mid-size category, but 0 to 60 in 5 seconds, performance car-like handling. This is also a very fun and engaging vehicle to drive in performance driving situations. Beautiful curvy road. You'll have a smile ear to ear in the Explorer ST. We always have a great selection of new and pre-owned ones. I'll leave a link in the description for our current inventory. I don't know if this one will be here while you're watching this video. You could be watching in a couple of years in the future. My name is Joe. We are Way Scarff Ford Isuzu. We've been in business 103 years, probably serving the greater Seattle-Tacoma area, located in Auburn, Washington. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.